The launch of the 2022 Regional Economic Outlook for Sub-Saharan Africa hinges on three thematic areas, namely living on the edge, managing the high cost of living and food insecurity in the Gambia, and the authorities' policy response. The Economic Forum seeks to mitigate the drivers of inflation and food insecurity in the Gambia. Speaking at the event, the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Sidi Keita, reaffirmed government's commitment to major economic reforms despite global uncertainties.
The ongoing surge in food and energy prices are impacting the region's most vulnerable, and the public debt and inflation are at elevated levels not seen in the last couple of decades. This has left many countries, particularly the Gambia, with a very narrow base and precarious options. Yet, the government of the Gambia remains committed to structural reforms that will engender the turnaround on the rising level of vulnerabilities and increased risk of debt distress. To this end, the Gambia government will strengthen the necessary institutional structures to ensure civil safety programs are conducted in a more targeted approach going forward.
Rising food and energy prices are impacting the region's most vulnerable, public debt and inflation. The UN Resident Coordinator, Sarafin Wakana, calls for concerted efforts to alleviate the drivers of inflation and food insecurity.
And in recent months, inflation has increased faster and more persistently than previously anticipated, pushing up the prices of essential commodities such as food, fuel, and fertilizer, which comprise a significant part of the country's imports. The high cost of living continues to affect millions of people with regards to realizing their basic economic, social, and cultural needs. For example, acute food insecurity, which has negative implications on access to food.
Global phenomena such as climate change, COVID-19, and conflicts pushed many countries closer to the edge. The short-term outlook is extremely uncertain as the region's prospects are tied to developments in the global economy. This was according to the IMF resident representative, Mamadou Julde Bari.
In our last World Economic Outlook, we had a revision of the 2022 growth, represented by those bars in blue, by 0.4% in 2022 and 0.9% in 2023. These significant revisions due particularly to large revisions in advanced economies that are confronted with various challenges, the high inflation, and the tightening of financial conditions due to the normalization of the monetary policy in advanced economies.
Abdoulaye Diallo of the Central Bank of the Gambia reaffirmed the bank's commitment to reducing inflation in the country. Despite global challenges, policymakers are expected to confront immediate socio-economic crises as they arise, while reducing vulnerabilities to future shocks and building resilience for sustainable economic growth. Alhaji Mbye, GRTS News.